Hey again everyone. I've been surrounded by a gradually increasing cloud of ambient cicada-like shrieking for a few months now.
Periodical cicada is emerging.
I've tried my best to use filters to trim it out from the microphone audio, but it's time to just fix this by replacing the fan on my ASUS Phoenix RTX 3060 GPU. This is a little irritating because this card is only a few months old, but it would be far more of a headache and more expensive to send it in. I'm used to doing this kind of thing, but I know a lot of people aren't. I'm going to go through it here so you can follow along and do it on your own. If my fan is already broken, I'm sure other people out there are going to be having the same problem soon enough. The card's been working well, and the fan seems to have been keeping up the RPMs, but it does run a little hot. The fan does spin freely, so there doesn't seem to be any major obstructions, but sometimes debris from manufacturing can work its way into the fan seams. So maybe that's what's causing the noise. I'm not going to fuss trying to flush the damaged fan with compressed air since that rarely works well enough, and I'm just going to replace it. The card is still current but not top of the line, so now's the perfect time to pick up third-party low-cost replacement parts. Once things reach end of life, it usually becomes harder and more costly to find things like proper-sized third-party coolers. I saw some online walkthroughs that removed the entire cooler assembly to replace the fan, and I don't think that's really necessary if you're a little careful. There are 4 screws connecting the shroud of the cooler to some brackets. 3 are easy to remove, but 1 may give you a little difficulty. The screw closest to the PCIe connector and the HDMI port is set a little deeper. So if you have some trouble here, remove the screw as much as you can with a small screwdriver, and then use a pair of needle nose pliers to grip the shaft of the screw and turn it a little at a time to finish removing it. I didn't need pliers for this, as this cheap tiny screwdriver set was able to make the tight fit. And there are 4 screws that hold the fan into the shroud itself. The fan is plugged into the card with a clip connector, so don't just pull up upward or you're going to tear the wires. Squeeze the clip with your fingertips and then pull. I don't recommend using pliers here, as it's easy to apply too much force and tear the connector off entirely, crush the clip, or slip and tear the wires or rip a capacitor off the PCB. So just squeeze and rock the connector side to side if it was a little stuck like mine was. And this is the replacement fan. It was about $15 US on Amazon. I'm just going to carefully give it a spin and make sure it rotates freely. It looks really good, so hopefully it'll perform just as well. Be careful to not press down on the fan blades at all, because you may throw off the balance and end up with a noisy card. And I'm just going to give things a little clean before replacing the fan. I'd suggest using a dry brush on the fins if you have any debris in there. Be careful to not bend them, as they're very fragile and quite sharp. And if you have any bent fins, straighten them using a flat tool or a strip of paper to bend the fin back into place. If the fins are bent together, they'll obstruct the path of the airflow. There were a couple bent fins on my card, so I fixed those up. Keep the screws from the original fan because the replacement doesn't come with them. The fan can go in 2 ways, so it's possible to put it in backward. The wire from the fan should be pointing towards the bottom of the GPU shroud, away from the RTX label. There should be enough slack in the wire that you can plug it in and fit the shroud back into place. Replace each of the 4 screws holding the shroud to the brackets. It's probably easiest to start with that difficult screw near the PCIe connector. If you can't get a screwdriver in there, you can probably get most of that screw in using your fingertips, and then use a screwdriver to finish it off. And I'm just going to make sure I didn't bend anything and the fan rotates cleanly. And that looks good, so let's try it out. Well, it's a lot quieter in my recording space. I didn't realize just how awful that old fan was. It may have actually never worked properly now that I can hear the difference. And there's an unexpected bonus. The card is running a lot cooler. About 10 degrees Celsius under high load. I've had this running for about 12 hours and my GPU hotspot temperature is running around 80 degrees Celsius, and my GPU temperature itself is around 70 degrees Celsius. Previously I could see that hotspot as high as 90 or 92. Replacing the cooler on the ASUS Phoenix RTX 3060 is an easy job even if you're not technically skilled, and only takes about 15 or 20 minutes, so don't be too intimidated. Hopefully that helps, and thanks for watching.